everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome back to the fall campaign for Arkham Horror, the card game. We saved the background campaign for Hero Realms last week, so now we're going to kick that back to the background for a while as the fall campaign now takes center stage. In addition, we had the intro for the fall campaign earlier last week, so now we're going to start the fall campaign with the first scenario, Return to the Witching Hour. But first up, we have a little bit of scene to set.
Scenario 1, The Witching Hour. Intro 1. It is a breezy November evening in Arkham, the perfect night for a walk through Independence Square, or so you had thought, up until the moment Anna Caslow offered to tell you your fortune. You agreed, though you would soon come to regret this decision. For each of the cards the Romani Soothsayer draws from her deck, she weaves a tale of despair and misfortune. Judgment, Temperance, Justice, the Hermit, the Hanged Man, the Hierophant, the Lovers, the Chariot, the Wheel of Fortune. To complete her tale, Anna draws the top card and lays it in the center of the formation. Dominating the old, worn card is the ominous image of a towering construct of black onyx. A hellish storm rages over the tower, lightning coursing through the dark clouds. It reads, The Tower, 16. Even if the rest of the reading had gone swimmingly, the sight of the center card would have sent a shiver down your spine. As it stands now, it feels more like the closing of a casket over your body. You did tell me to give it to you straight, the Soothsayer says. She sits cross-legged in front of you, wearing a stony, grim expression. From her unwavering gaze and her cold eyes, you can tell Anna derives no satisfaction from this reading. Simple misfortune is the least of your concerns, she explains. This is a matter of life and death. She motions to the cards surrounding the tower, each of them laid in the reverse position, and stares at them intently. Arrayed against you is everything that you cannot see. You alone stand in their way, she says enigmatically. The lead investigator must decide. Choose one. What can I do to avoid this fate? Proceed to intro 2. This is bullshit. Skip to intro 3.
Now, when Agnes and Carolyn played this campaign as my summer campaign last year, they accepted their fate. This time, for a change of pace, we're going to reject their fate, call BS, and move to intro 3.
Intro 3. The woman smirks. Yes, in a sense, I suppose it is, she responds. With a single swift motion, she picks up each of the cards displayed before you, save for the Tower card, and shuffles them back into the deck. The cards only review and advise. They cannot influence or impose. She locks eyes with you, and her smile vanishes from her face. In other words, though your fate is not set in stone, I assure you the danger you face is not bullshit. It is real. Her eyes narrow. It is very real. In your campaign log, record you have rejected your fate. Add 2 Elder Thing tokens to the chaos bag for the remainder of the campaign. Proceed to intro 4.
Alright, so after recording the campaign log that rejected our fate, and we had 2 Elder Thing tokens to the bag. So I'll fish those out back here off camera. There we are. 2 Elder Things going in the bag. Give that a quick mix-up, and then we'll move to intro 4.
Intro 4. Silence hangs in the air as you peer into the Tower card. The world around you dissolves into emptiness as your eyes fixate on the Onyx Tower. Rolling thunder echoes in the distance. Do you understand now? Anna asks. There is no other sign of the Soothsayer, only her strained voice. A bolt of lightning streaks across the sky. Do you see your fate before you, as I do? Another resounding crack of thunder, and you are suddenly awake. Icy rain pelts your body, soaking you through to the bone. You are lying in the mud beside a wooden trail, and there is no other soul in sight.
Okay, and then at that point we would proceed to setup. But we've already done that, so next let me remind everyone of what our tarot reading was. On the good side, we left the Hermit 9, which increases each investigator's maximum hand size by 3. So for the scenario... Actually, I might turn the lay on up here. So for the scenario, our maximum hand size is 11 rather than the normal 8. And on the bad side, we flip the world 21. So each investigator defeated during the scenario suffers 1 trauma of their choice during resolution. So now we can take a look at our opening hands. Jacqueline will be our lead investigator, so we'll start with her. First up, we have a copy of our Arcane Studies Level 4. 2 resources to play it out, and it gets 2 free resources at the start of each round. And it's a resource dump for will and lore tests. Then we have Rite of Seeking, with 3 charges on it. 4 cost to play, lore on commit. 3 charges. We can spend a charge to investigate using will instead of lore. And succeed, we discover 1 additional clue at the location. But if we pull a bad symbol, we lose all remaining actions immediately on her turn. Then we have a way to defend herself, which I'm very happy to see right off the bat. Enchanted Bow. 3 cost to play, will and agility on commit. Uses 3 charges. As an action, exhaust the bow to fight. You must use either will or agility instead of combat and get +1 skill value for this attack. Deals +1 damage. As an additional cost to initiate this ability, you may spend 1 charge to have this attack target a non-elite enemy at a connecting location. If you do, ignore aloof and retaliate keywords for this attack. I didn't actually see that part. So we've been having some we had some problems in my Friday group with aloof. This would have been very handy to have because it actually ignores aloof. Then we have a copy of Read the Signs, 2 costs to play, lore and will on commit. Investigate plus will. You may ignore any effect or keyword on your location which would trigger during the investigation. If you succeed, discover 1 additional clue at this location. And then this card's actually going to start off in play because it's Jacqueline's tarot card, the 4 of Cups, Chalice of the Heart. You get +1 will. Before reaction, when the game begins, if 4 of Cups is in your opening hand, put it into play. Seek clarity in your heart and mind. I'm going through the flavor text because, like I said, it's actually going to start off in play, which means Jacqueline gets a base will of 6. And then Mandy's opening hand. I'm mostly happy to see everything here. We start off with a copy of Burning the Midnight Oil. 0 cost to play, will or lore and agility on commit. Investigate, gaining 2 resources. Then we have 2 copies of Guided by the Unseen. 2 cost to play, will and lore on commit, 4 secrets. Takes up an arcane slot. During a skill test at your location, the performing investigator may search the top 3 cards of their deck for a card that can be committed to this test. You may spend 1 secret to commit that card and shuffle the performing investigator's deck. Then we have a card I'm very happy to see because it'll help me put Mandy's primary plan into motion. We have her Research Librarian. 2 costs to play, agility on commit, takes up the ally slot. After it enters play, search your deck for a tome asset and add it to your hand, shuffle your deck. Except for Mandy, her first search is going to get her personal weakness out of the deck, which is also very welcome. And like Jacqueline, this will start off in play. It's Mandy's Tarot, Death 13. Free from the past. 3 costs to play, except because it's in the opening hand, we'll put it into play. Let go, and embrace a new truth. +1 lore. So Mandy's lore is going to start off at a base of 6. But anyway. Next up, we'll take a look at the starting act and agenda decks. I did forget to mention that the World 21, when I flip that to its bad side, is a little bit risky because that could potentially cause us to start the campaign with 2 trauma right off the bat. But I might be getting a little bit ahead of myself there. Anyway. Agenda 1A, Temperance 14. Remain calm, and you may peer into an uncertain future. The balance of the universe has tilted. You are the fulcrum. Be patient, and all will be revealed. 8 doomed to advance that. And then our act deck. Lost in the Woods. You have awakened alone deep in the woods south of Arkham. The mysterious soothsayer is nowhere to be seen. You rise up from the muddy trail and try to find your bearings. An oppressive weight hangs in the air. Locations in front of you are connected to one another. You cannot enter locations in front of other investigators. Objective. At the end of the round, investigators may spend the requisite number of clues as a group to advance, and we need 4 clues. So that's our starting act and agenda decks. Last up, Jacqueline and Mandy will head over to the map, and we'll join them over there. So in front of Jacqueline right now, so Jacqueline's starting at this witch-haunted woods, and let's see what we've got here. We find, well, we'll take a look at the flavor text on the unrevealed side first. The frigid wind howls around you as you venture deeper into the haunted woods beyond Arkham. Now on the revealed side we find Shroud of 1, 4 clues. Forced. When the last clue is discovered from this location, spawn the topmost enemy in the encounter discard pile at this location. If there are no enemies in the discard pile, discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until an enemy is discarded, and spawn that enemy instead. Victory 1. Oh joy. So now we need 4 clues for that. So I don't want to empty that location of clues until I have a way to defend myself, which fortunately I do have a way to defend myself in hand already. And Mandy starts off with Victory 3, 2 clues. When an enemy would spawn at a different witch-haunted woods, spawn it at this location instead. Then it makes an immediate attack against each investigator at this location. Victory 1. Nothing has lived inside this barn for decades. At least, as far as you know. Victory 1. So we'll get the 2 clues for that. Well. Alright, so we need clues right away. But I don't want to spawn the enemy at Jacqueline's starting location until Mandy gets away from hers. So maybe just do a little bit of, well, I don't know how we're going to do this, but I think we're going to go ahead and drop down into our first turn. We'll start off with Jacqueline, and we'll start in her play area. So right before the investigation phase officially begins, Mandy's going to exhaust Ancestral Knowledge to draw one of the skills attached to that. So Mandy draws Surprising Find. I'd rather this be in the deck, but Myriad. Reaction: when you search your deck and Surprising Find is among the searched cards, put it into play in your threat and your play area. You must commit it to the next eligible skill test you perform. If this test is successful, draw 1 card. Max 1 research ability per search. It's got a wild card icon on it, so it's basically just a free commit. But anyway, for action 1, Jacqueline is going to play out her Enchanted Bow right off the bat. So now she's going to be attacking. So now she's got a way to defend herself. So that's 3 resources for that. Action 2 will be to spend her last 2 resources to play Arcane Studies, mostly so I can start getting some free resource dumps on that. Once again, we'll get free resources on that at the start of each round, and we'll spend 1, and we can spend 1 from her pool to get a free Will or Lore. Then action 3 will take us over to the map. Before we take Jacqueline's third action, there are her 3 charges for her Enchanted Bow. Action 3 will move her over to her other witch-haunted woods location, but we need to work on getting some of these clues. So anyway, we find Shroud of 2, 2 clues. You cannot investigate this location while you have between 3 and 5 cards in hand. Fast action, you choose and discard 1 card from your hand, then an investigator at a different witch-haunted woods draws 1 card, or vice versa. Limit once per round. The ghastly likenesses of tortured figures writhe within its bark, gnarled and emaciated. It is agonizing to look upon. Victory 1. So we need to find some other way to discover clues. Fortunately, Jacqueline's deck does have them, but she also, well, she has 2 cards in hand. So once she plays something else out, she can investigate, but I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself there. Mandy, I think, will stay right here. For action 1, we will go ahead and pay 2 resources to play out her Research Librarian, which, as I mentioned, will go fish out a tome, 1 and 1 on soak. There have been problems with the Orne Library, as we both know, given poor Armitage's condition and the other unrelated incidents of a few years ago. 1 and 1 on soak, and that takes the ally slot. Now, I would go get a tome, except this, remember, brings out my Shocking Discovery instead. So we'll give this a quick shuffle. And a cut. And then just to refresh our memory on Shocking Discovery. When you search your deck and it's among the searched cards, discard it, cancel the search and all of its effects, shuffle the search deck, which we just did, and then draw the top card of the encounter deck. So I usually don't mind that too much, just because I've also got a meat shield that I can throw in front of this card if I need to. So we find Dissonant Voices. Put it into play in your threat area. You can play assets or events, and at the end of the round, discard Dissonant Voices. Well, I was going to be doing a little bit of setup, but now I can't do that. So anyway, action 2 will just work on getting these clues off. We'll commit Surprising Find. So 6, 7 to 3, I'm up 4 to try to get a clue. A 0 gets her a clue. And then action 3 will run the Investigate back. This time we're only up 3. Tentacle Touched. I don't mind that this early, but it's definitely something I want to keep an eye on. But anyway, that will do it for Mandy. That will do it for the Investigation phase. Enemy phase, no enemies in play right now, so we'll go ahead and re-ready everything, including my action tokens. And then we'll move back up top, also Ancestral Knowledge readies. Then we'll move back up top for the Upkeep phase. Jacqueline will gain 1 resource and go up to 1. Mandy will gain 1 resource and go to 4. Jacqueline will draw. Emergency Cash, gain 3 resources. That's actually timely. And then Mandy will draw. You handle this one. Fast, play after you draw a non-peril card, but before resolving that card's effects. Choose another investigator. That investigator is considered to have drawn that encounter card instead. Gain 1 resource. Then end of round, Dissonant Voices goes away. Mythos phase, we got our first Doom up on the agenda. And then Jacqueline draws. Unhallowed Land. Test Agility 5. For each point you fail by, discard the top card of the encounter deck. If a Cursed Treachery is discarded by this effect, deal 1 direct horror to your investigator and to each of your ally assets. Well, horror we can take, and Jacqueline's down 3, so I don't think there's anything in the bag that can save her at this point. I'm not going to bother with her special ability. Tentacle Touched, which sets her skill value to 0. So we fail by 5, and then we have to discard the top 5 cards of the encounter deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If any of them are cursed, Jacqueline just takes a horror. That's not the worst thing that could have happened. Hex, Curse. Okay, I actually don't mind that. We got a bunch of curses there, including our new replacement, Ancient Evils. But I'll talk about that more when we draw it. So Jacqueline does take a horror from that, and she doesn't have an ally out right now. Mandy draws Unhallowed Land as well. She is down 2. Do we have anything that we can commit? No. So Mandy is just down 2. Elder Sign. Let's take a look and see what Mandy's Elder Sign is. +0, so she's still going to fail by 2 regardless. Search the top 3 cards of your deck for a card and either draw it or commit it to this test if able. Shuffle your deck. So, and then once per turn, we'll just confirm this as well. Once per turn, or once per round, when an investigator at your location would search their deck or the encounter deck, they either go 3 deeper or find an additional target. So I think here I'm going to go 3 deeper. Because I really want to try to find... I really want to get Milan in play so I can get my investigation going. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so first card up we find Deduction, which could be a good choice as well. If this skill test is successful while investigating a location, discover 1 additional clue at that location, 2 instead if you succeed by 2 or more. Opportunist, commit only to a skill test you're performing. If you succeed by 3 or more, return Opportunist to your hand after this test instead of discarding it. Mob Enforcer, which I'm not going to talk about right now because that's something we don't have to take that, because it just says for a card. Eureka, which might also be tempting. Will, Lore, Agility on commit. If you're successfully investigator performing this test, searches the top 3 for a card. Draws it and shuffles. I've got a plan which lets her fight using Lore. You deal +1 damage per clue you have, max +3. And Burning the Midnight Oil, investigate. When the action begins, gain 2 resources. I think we're just going to take Deduction for the time being, because I'm planning on having Mandy do some serious clue hunting this turn. And we'll give this a shuffle. And a cut. Deduction will go into Mandy's hand. We'll discard the top 2 cards of the encounter deck because Mandy fails by 2. And we find Terror and an Enemy, neither of which I mind, and neither of those are curses, so Mandy actually won't take any horror from that, neither will her research librarian. And then coming out of the Mythos phase, now that we've drawn the card, Mandy will exhaust Ancestral Knowledge to get another skill. This time she'll find another surprising find. I'm a little annoyed that 2 of those already have ended up under Ancestral Knowledge, but there's no help for that at this point. Anyway, we're back into the investigation phase now, and we're going... Okay, so actually, Arcane Studies should have gotten 2 resources on it at the start of the round, so I'll put those out for Jacqueline. But we're going to start with Mandy, and her turn is going to take us over to the map. For action 1, Mandy's going to run the Investigate back. She is up... Actually, she's going to run the Investigate back, but she's going to use Burning the Midnight Oil to do it, so she gets 2 resources, which brings her up to 6. And then she's at 6 to 3. She's still up 3. Elder Thing is nothing good. -3. If you fail, choose an exhausted or damaged witch enemy at your location or at a connecting location. Ready that enemy and heal all damage from it. So fortunately, Mandy doesn't fail, which gives her the last clue off the location. Then action 2, she's going to move over to the other witch-haunted woods in front of her, and she'll find Shroud of 3, 4 clues. Forced. After any number of clues are discovered from this location, each investigator at this location loses an equal number of resources. Do they mark a gravesite or something more sinister? Victory 1. So we'll get the 4 clues for that. And then do we want to go to work on discovering clues right away? Or do I want to just play out something for setup purposes? I think for action 3, it's worth the risk of playing. I think it's worth the risk of trying to keep the scenario moving along a little bit. So anyway, we'll go ahead and commit deduction. So I'm going to take a bit of a risk here. So I'm at 6, 8. Plus 2 is 8 to 3, so I'm up 5 for 2 clues if I succeed, but 3 clues if I succeed by 2 or more. And right now I'm up 5. Skull. -1 for each point you fail by, discard the top card of the encounter deck, except we still pass by 4, so we get 3 clues off the location, but Mandy loses 3 resources. On the bright side, though, we will be able to advance the agenda. We will be able to advance the agenda at the end of this round. But that will do it for Mandy. Let's move over to Jacqueline. Jacqueline, as of right now, has 3 cards in her hand, so she can't investigate at the Lonely Tree. But I'm going to fix that by starting off with an emergency cash to gain her 3 resources, which she'll then immediately spend, going back down to 0, to play her Rite of Seeking Out. Which, once again, this gives her 3 charges. As an action, I can spend a charge to investigate, using Will instead of Lore. If I succeed, I discover 1 additional clue at the location. If I pull a bad symbol, after this test, I lose all remaining actions and immediately end my turn. Which for action 3, I'm only going to grab 2 charges. And yes, once again, I love these Brass Facts tokens from LCG. Link to their store will be in the description down below. So I'm going to investigate at my location, 6 to 2, and I'm going to use Jacqueline's ability. I'm up 4, trying to get those clues. So, Jacqueline's ability, before I pull the test, I get to pull 3 tokens out of the bag and cancel 2 of them. So we've got 3 tokens right here. I think we would actually reveal these we'll reveal them one at a time. So first up we find a 0. Second up, a skull, which I will probably be canceling. Well, it doesn't really matter. And a -2, so I'll cancel the skull and the -2. Not that it would really matter, because I would get the clues, because I'd be able to get the clues anyway. Because I was up 4, and the biggest negative there was a -2. So I get the 2 clues off of the location. That will do it for Jacqueline's turn. She only had 1 card left in hand. So that will do it for Jacqueline. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, we have no enemies in play right now. So I'll go ahead, re-ready everything. And then we'll move back up top for the Upkeep phase. So we're into the upkeep phase. Jacqueline will gain a resource and go to 1. Mandy will gain 1 and go to 2. Jacqueline will draw another Enchanted Bow, which I'm not particularly happy to see right now. That might be a commit. Mandy draws an Encyclopedia. Uses 5 secrets. As an action, I can exhaust Encyclopedia and spend 1 secret to choose an investigator at my location. That investigator gets +2 to a skill of my choice until the end of the phase. Very nice. Then at end of round, it's as a group, yes. So Jacqueline will spend her 2 clues, and then Mandy will spend 2 of hers, and will advance the act. Okay, so actually once per round, these technically wouldn't be active yet, again, because the round technically isn't over yet, so those 2 abilities still wouldn't be active, but we do advance, so we find see if I can get a good angle to read this. There we go. As the rain lets up, a dense fog rolls in throughout the area. Soon all of the woods have vanished within the hazy fog. You call out for your companions, but none answer. You grope blindly in the haze, searching for something, anything to which you can cling. Each investigator must choose one of the set-aside Arkham Woods locations, puts it into play in front of him or her, and immediately moves to that location. It can't be cancelled. So we'll go find the Arkham Woods locations, which should be in right here. Okay, so we will put... So we'll go ahead and give these a shuffle. Actually, I wonder what the timing is here. So actually, I think we are at end of round, which means I think these are active again. I'll have to get a ruling on that, but the way I'm going to rule it to keep the video moving is their special abilities on once per round are active again. And then those, I believe, connect. So there and there, they both move to that. I'm going to assume these are both connected for the time being, but they're not connected to each other, obviously, but in front of each investigator, they are connected. So those can go away. And then each one puts a set aside goat spawn at their location. So there are the goat spawns. And each investigator then tests Will or Agility 3. Each investigator who succeeds exhausts that enemy and disengages from it. So Jacqueline was going to test Will 3. She's up 3 right now. And I will spend... So I'm going to get these resources back. I'll spend both of her resources from Arcane Studies just to go up 5. I absolutely want to make sure I pass this. -2 means Jacqueline's goat spawn is exhausted. Mandy, what's she going to test? Mandy is going to test Agility and commit Surprising Find, and you handle this one to go up 2. Come on. Why do you not want to focus for me? There we go. Okay, 0 exhausts Mandy's goat spawn as well, so neither one of them have anything to deal with there. And then we shuffle one of the set-aside copies of Demonic Piping into the encounter deck. Place the other 2 copies in the discard pile. Okay, so there we go. And then Piper of Demonic Piping. So 1 goes into the deck, the other 2 into the discard pile. I'm not going to talk about that card until it comes up. Just know that they're there. Give this a quick shuffle. Didn't mean to jar the camera there. Okay, so that's all shuffled in. We'll take a look at the new act. Act 2A, Witch Hauntings. Whatever arcane rites are being practiced in these woods, they are attracting the attention of all manner of vile beasts, the likes of which you have never seen. Is this what the soothsayer was trying to warn you about? Locations in front of you are connected to one another. You cannot enter locations in front of other investigators. Objective: if a single investigator spends the requisite number of clues, advance. And Mandy's got 3 clues right now, but I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself there. Let's move over to the map and we'll take a look at the new locations that are in play for our ladies. We'll also take a quick look at the goat spawns that just came out for our ladies. So goat spawn, 3 combat, 3 health, 2 evade value. Hunter Retaliate. Forced. When goat spawn is defeated, each investigator at this location takes 1 horror. The creature was at once terrible and graceful. The result of blasphemous traffics with some otherworldly horror does the damage on attack. Then the Arkham Woods locations are in front of our investigators. In front of Jacqueline, we'll look at the flavor text. Growing up, you were always warned to stay out of the woods at night. Now you know why. And then we find Shroud of 2 clues. This location is investigated using combat instead of the skill indicated in the investigation attempt. An old horse trail in colonial days. This overgrown path hasn't been used in over a decade. We'll get the 2 clues for that. Since we're not worried about victory, since this doesn't have victory on it, I'm not overly worried about it. Then for Mandy, we find... Oh, wait. When an enemy would spawn at... Okay, they're spawning at Arkham Woods locations, so never mind. They don't move. We find... Arkham Woods, Unhallowed Ground. The Forced I don't think would trigger here. After you enter this location, test Agility 4. If you fail, take 1 damage and 1 horror. This clearing has been the site of dark rites since colonists first came to the area over 2 centuries ago. So we'll get the 2 clues for that. Neither one of those, like I said, has victory on it, so I don't know if we need further clues, but I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself there. So now let's move back. So now that we're done resetting the act, let's move back up top for the Mythos phase. Remember that the Mythos phase is actually at the start of the round, so Jacqueline's Arcane Studies refreshes. And then we go up to 2 Doom on the Mythos deck. Jacqueline draws the aforementioned Demonic Piping. That didn't take long. Surge. If Piper of Azathoth is in play, deal 1 horror to each investigator at its location and at each connecting location. Otherwise, put Demonic Piping into play next to the encounter deck. If there are 3 copies of Demonic Piping in play, discard them and spawn the Piper of Azathoth engaged with you. With its prey, I should say, from any out-of-play area. So that goes next to the Agenda deck. And then Jacqueline, this is still Jacqueline's cards because of Surge, so Jacqueline now draws. Coven Initiate. 2s across the board. Revelation, discard the top 2 cards of the encounter deck. If this effect causes the encounter deck to run out of cards, draw the topmost hex card in the encounter discard pile. The hidden cults to which these witches belonged often guarded and handed down surprising secrets from elder, forgotten aeons. H.P. Lovecraft, The Dreams in the Witch House. So we'll discard the top 2 cards of the encounter deck, and we are definitely not running out of cards here. Wait, actually, this will spawn over at the Witch-Haunted Woods. Actually, no. We're at Jacqueline's the Arkham Woods, so it will spawn with her. Then the top 2 cards, Frozen in Fear and Trespasser, so nothing particularly treacherous there. Mandy draws Dissonant Voices, so once again she can't play assets or events. At the end of the round she discards it. But anyway, coming out of the Mythos phase, Mandy will exhaust Ancestral Knowledge to draw another skill, so she'll draw Quick Thinking. If this skill test is successful by 2 or more, after it resolves, you may immediately take an action as if it were your turn. This action does not count toward the number of actions you can take each turn. So, just as a quick clarification, because our group had this happen on Friday, where we weren't sure who gets the action, but it's the owner of the card who gets the action. So, say I run into a situation later where I commit a card, where I commit that to a test for Jacqueline, Mandy would get to perform the action, but just a quick clarification there. So while we're still in the Mythos phase, there isn't any kind of restriction on when those clues can be spent. So Mandy's actually going to go ahead and spend them now to advance the act. So we'll take a look here. Actually, I'll get over here so I can block off the glare from the overhead light a little bit. Alright. Strange Melodies. As you scour the woods for answers, or a path that will lead you back home, you find yourself drawn off the beaten trail by a mesmerizing melody of silvery pipes. Deeper into the damp, hazy woodland you delve, searching for the source of the strange music. Finally, you come upon a foggy clearing, at the center of which lies a half-rotted tree stump. An old but delicately carved wooden flute lies atop the stump, silently beseeching you as you approach. The moment you touch the instrument, the piping melody that lured you here is cut short, and the dense fog around you disperses with a sudden breeze. For the remainder of the scenario, investigators may now enter locations in front of other investigators. So now we need another connecting arrow. These arrows, along with the action tokens you can see I'm using, all come from orbits. I'll provide a link to that in the description down below. As always, I'll provide a link to all of the swag I use in these videos in the description down below. Anyway, taking a look at Act 3A, Paths into Twilight. With the strange fog dispersed, you are now able to explore the woods. You are unable to find the main path that leads back to Uptown, but this is your chance to discover more about the ritual the witches are conducting. Locations in front of you are connected to one another. So now we can move, and we do need 3 per investigator or 6 clues. So we do need to keep that in mind, but anyway, that will do it for the Mythos phase. We already exhausted the Ancestral Knowledge coming out of that, so now we're into the action phase. And I think we're going to go start with Jacqueline, who will hopefully be able to deal with this initiate pretty easily. My plan for Jacqueline's turn is very simple. I'm going to plan on killing that initiate, moving down to her other witch-haunted woods location, and then start working on getting that empty of clues. The only question I have right now, though, is when do I use Jacqueline's ability? I think I use it here on the first action, trying to kill the initiate, because when I go down to investigate, that's going to be her last action anyway, so at that point, I don't care about losing her actions. So for action 1, we will exhaust the bow, and I will use her ability, so I'm pulling 3 tokens out of the bag. I get to cancel 2 of them, or 1 that's a tentacle, or 1 tentacle. And I think that's 3. Alright, so first up, we find a 0. By the way, I probably should have mentioned that I'm at 6, 7 to 2, I'm up 5. So first token's a 0. Then we find a -1. I'm thinking that Initiate is probably very dead. And a -2. So yeah, we'll cancel the -2 and the -1. The Initiate's going to go bye-bye. And then actions 2 and 3 will take us over to Jacqueline's map. Action 2, Jacqueline will move down to the witch-haunted woods. And action 3, she'll investigate using right of seeking. So she's at 5, 6 to 1. She's up 5, trying to discover 2 clues. -1 gets her 2 clues, so that's fantastic. That brings us up to 3 clues already. That will do it for Jacqueline. I'm trying to figure out what I want Mandy to do, but I definitely don't want her to be around when that goat spawn wakes up. So, I think Mandy's turn will take us over to her map, so we'll just reposition the camera slightly here. Action 1 for Mandy, she's going to move down to the witch-haunted woods. Action 2, she's going to investigate, and I'm going to commit quick thinking, so I can hopefully try to get some extra movement out of this. So Mandy is at 6, 7 to, 3, she's up 4, and as long as I succeed by 2 or more, I get to take an extra action. We find a 0, so she gets the last clue. It'll cost her a resource, but she does get to perform an extra action. So this is not her action 3. This is her quick thinking action, so she's going to move over to the overgrown barn. And then for action 3, she's going to move over to Witch-Haunted Woods, the Lonely Tree, getting over closer to Jacqueline. So that will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, both of our goat spawns are exhausted. So we'll go ahead and re-ready everything. Both of these wake up and they will be moving next turn, so I do need to be very careful about that. Our ladies wake up as well. And we'll reset everything. And we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Alright, Jacqueline and Mandy will each gain a resource and go up to 2. Jacqueline draws. Another read the signs, which is somewhat helpful. Mandy draws. Strange solution unidentified. 1 cost to play, question mark on commit. As an action, test lore 4. If you succeed, discard strange solution and draw 2 cards. Record in your campaign log that you have identified the solution. Dissonant Voices goes away, since it's the end of the round. Mythos Phase, we go up to 3 Doom on the agenda. Jacqueline draws. Come on, there we go. Impending Evils. Peril, which we can't do anything about anyway. Revelation, you must either take 1 and 1 or put Impending Evils into play next to the agenda deck and it gains Surge. If there are 3 copies of Impending Evils next to the agenda deck, discard them and advance the current agenda. So we put 1 in the, I think we put 1 in the discard pile earlier. I think right now where we're at, yeah, we put 1 in the discard pile. I think where we're at right now, we're actually in pretty good shape. So Jacqueline is going to take 1 and 1, mostly to keep us completely clear of that until the next time the deck shuffles. Mandy draws. Vice and Villainy. Attach Vice and Villainy to a non-permanent asset you control, limit 1 per asset. Forced. When the encounter deck runs out of cards, discard attached asset. Forced. When attached asset leaves play, test Will 3. If you fail, attach Vice and Villainy to a different non-permanent asset you control. I think we're going to attach that to Death 13. And that's a nice quiet Mythos Phase. I forgot to refresh Ancestral Knowledge, but I'll exhaust it now so Mandy can draw a card. Mandy will draw. Another Quick Thinking. Okay, cool. Alright, so that's a very uneventful Mythos Phase, thankfully. The Investigation Phase, now I need to worry about getting those 2 clues off of the Witch-Haunted Woods. So we'll do that. So I'll have Jacqueline start in her play area. Action 1 will be her last charge of Rite of Seeking. And I'll use her special ability just because I don't want to have to end her turn. So we'll draw, once again, we'll draw 3 tokens from the bag. And that should be 3. Okay, so first up we find a -3, which doesn't fail us, where we were up 5. Then, Elder Sign, which we'll take a look at that in a second, and a -1. So we'll take a look at Jacqueline's Elder Sign. Her Elder Sign effect, +1. If this effect is cancelled or ignored, draw 1 card. So I'm going to cancel the -3 and the Elder Sign so I can draw a card, which will give me the last 2 clues. And then Jacqueline will draw Prophetic. Ooh. 3 cost to play, 2 will on commit, uses 2 resources. Replenish these resources at the start of each round. Resources on Prophetic cards may be spent to pay for Fortune, Spell, or Spirit cards. During a skill test on a Fortune, Spell, or Spirit card, spend 1 resource from Prophetic and you get +1 skill value for this test. Ooh. But more importantly, we did get the 2 clues off of the location, so we also have to spawn the topmost enemy in the discard pile. So that brings out the Coven Initiate that Jacqueline killed earlier, but it actually goes to the Overgrown's Barn because of the clause on there. Then we discard the top 2 cards of the encounter deck. We find the other impending evils and a Priestess of the Coven, which we'll touch more on that later. So now we're completely clear of impending evils. But we will get to spend the 6 clues and advance. So for Act 3A, we find the Witch's Circle, okay. Shroud of 3 6 clues. Revelation put the Witch's Circle into play in the center of the play area, in front of none of the investigators. Then the lead investigator spawns the set-aside Annette Mason at the Witch's Circle. Forced. After the enemy phase begins, move each ready, unengaged witch enemy once toward the Witch's Circle, victory 2. So we'll get 6 clues. That connects. Those connect. Where is that connected to? Oh, connects to the Witch-Haunted Woods locations. Sorry, I was looking at that off camera for a second, but okay. So from any of the Witch-Haunted Woods, we can get there. I don't know how I'm going to connect those. Let's do arrows like that, and try to do it like so somehow. Yeah, I think that'll work. Okay, so then we spawn Annette Mason. We'll take a look at her. Annette Mason, the High Priestess. 4 combat, 4 per investigator health, 4 agility. Humanoid Witch Elite, Retaliate. Forced. After the enemy phase begins, discard the top 3 cards of the encounter deck. Spawn each witch enemy discarded by this enemy at Annette Mason's location. If no witch enemies are discarded by this effect, ready her. Come, sisters. Our time is now. 1 and 1 on attack. And I'll get the 6 clues out for the Witch's Circle. Okay. 3, 4, 5, and 6. Fortunately, the Arkham Woods locations don't connect to the Witch's Circle, but we have new act and agendas. We have a new act and agenda to go through. Act 4A, A Circle Unbroken. You come across a clearing where a ritual circle has been constructed. Several hooded figures stand around in a trance, unaware of your presence. Overlooking the ritual is a powerfully built woman who brandishes a long, weary dagger as she sees you approach. Leave this place at once, she commands. Locations in front of you are connected to one another. Objective: if Annette Mason is defeated, advance. If there are no clues on the Witch's Circle, advance. But remember, we are doing return, so there's actually another act card that's considered to be in play, which I think is specified. I think it's on the return card. Let me double check that. Yes, when advancing to Act 4A, put both act cards in play. The text on both is considered to be active. Okay. A Circle Unbroken. This is the special return. For what purpose have these people gathered? Are they the cause of the disturbances in these woods? And if so, what is their true goal? Objective: perhaps we can learn more from them. If there are more than 1 per exhausted witch enemies at the Witch's Circle, investigators at the Witch's Circle may spend the requisite number of clues as a group to advance. So we have 3 ways to get this scenario done with. We can defeat Annette Mason, which with 8 health isn't completely crazy, but I'm not sure I'm going to be doing that. We can also clear it of clues, which is probably going to be pretty easy to do. Or we evade 3 witch enemies, which with our evade values is, well, the Covenant Initiate, Mandy would be evading up 1, so that's not, it's not completely impossible. We might actually be able to pull that off. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself there. Action 2. Does Jacqueline move in and make friends with Annette? Maybe. That is a question, though. Or do we just... I could send Jacqueline in, plan on having Mandy work on the clues up there. That might not be a terrible idea either. She only does 1 and 1 on attack. I think action 2, we are going to take a shot with the bow. We'll ping Annette just so I can open up my options a little bit. So I'm at 6, 7 to 4. I'm up 3 trying to do 2 damage. Skull is -1. For each point you fail by discard the top card of the encounter deck, except we don't fail. So Annette's going to take 2 damage, just basically ping damage at this point. And then action 3, I think she is going to move in. I don't mind, she can take a little bit of damage here, so we're not going to worry about that too much. But anyway, that will do it for Jacqueline. Mandy's turn will take us over to the map. Since we've got a little bit of time here, in terms of not only damage but the scenario, Mandy's action 1 is going to be to move into the Witch's Circle with Jacqueline. Action 2, she'll pay 1 resource. Actually, she'll pay 2. Yeah, she'll pay... Actually, no, she'll pay 2 resource... No, she'll pay 1 resource. Sorry, I'm going back and forth on this. To play out her strange solution, which we went through. She just drew this. By all accounts, it should not even exist. Then action 3, she'll make the test on that. So she's testing at 6 to 4. She's up 2. Do I want to commit anything? I think I will commit quick thinking to go up 3. Gambling that I can pull something that will let her take an extra action. A 0 will actually let her take an extra action. So she discards the strange solution and draws 2 cards. I'll go through the cards I'm drawing in a second, but I will write in the campaign log first once I find what I did with my pen. Ah, here it is. So Mandy has identified the solution. And then the 2 cards Mandy's drawing from that. First up we find Investigate, burning the midnight oil. We used this earlier. You investigate plus 2 resources and gain 2 resources. I forgot to mention the flavor text. You'll sleep when you're dead. And Deduction. Perfect. So I think I know what her action... I think that just made her action pretty clear to me. So we'll burn the midnight oil to give her 2 resources and commit Deduction. So I'm up... Let's see... So 5, 6, 7, 8 to 3. I'm up 5 trying to discover 3 clues. A very well loved +1 does give Mandy 3 clues. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so that will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase. Okay, so start of the enemy phase. After the enemy phase begins, discard the top 3 cards of the encounter deck. Spawn each witch discarded by this effect at Annette's location. If no witch enemies are discarded, ready her. So we do get a Coven Initiate, which will spawn at... So we'll get both Coven Initiates out as well. We'll give one to each of them. And then for the one that spawned, we'll discard the top 2 cards of the encounter deck. Okay, so those are gone. And then for attacks, actually the goat spawns move as well. Witch Haunted Woods and there. And then Mandy takes a horror. Jacqueline takes 1. Actually, yeah, Mandy can take 1 herself. Then Jacqueline takes 1 damage and 2 sanity from her attacks. Okay. Then we will re-ready everything. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Jacqueline gains 1 resource, goes up to 3. Mandy gains 1 resource, goes up to 4. Jacqueline draws. Occult Theory. While Occult Theory is in your hand or committed to a skill test, gains will icons equal to your lore and lore equal to your will. Oh my. So that'd be a lot of lore if we committed, but not a lot of will. Mandy draws. Dr. Milan Christopher, where have you been all game? Get +1 lore after you successfully investigate, gain 1 resource. Mythos Phase. Doom on the agenda goes up to 4. Jacqueline draws. Rotting Remains. Test Will 3. For each point you fail by, take 1 horror. A sickening display of gore causes you to retch. You're glad this wasn't you. So right now, Jacqueline is up 4. Is there anything I want to commit? There is Not from Jacqueline. Is there anything Mandy wants to commit, though? There is not from her either, so we're just up 3. +1 does it easily for Jacqueline, so Riding Remains is clear for her. And then Mandy draws. Trespasser. Test Will 2. This test gets +1 difficulty for each non-weakness treachery in your threat area. If you fail, take 2 and 2. So right now this is a test. This is a Will 2 test. She's going to commit... she's actually not going to commit. Jacqueline will not either. So she's up 1. A 0 lets her pass it, so very nicely done there. Mandy, now we're into the investigation phase, and it's going to take me a little bit of time, I think, to set this up, but that's an evade of 4. Jacqueline's down 2 trying to do that? That seems like a problem. Well, coming out of the phase, Mandy will exhaust her Ancestral Knowledge to draw her last card. She will draw Eureka. If this skill test is successful, the investigator performing the test searches the top 3 cards of their deck for a card, draws it, and shuffles. Okay, well, that kind of opens up my options a little bit. I think I can work with this, in all honesty. So I think I'll have Mandy go first, and we'll start in her play area. Alright, so Mandy is going to try to evade this Coven Initiate, and I'm going to commit Eureka to the test, so I'm up 2. Yeah. We'll just be up. Maybe, do I want to... Actually, Jacqueline will throw in her spare Enchanted Bow to put Mandy up 3. The idea here, before I pull this test, so I'm up 3. The idea here is my plan for this turn is if this test passes and I find something I can use, she's going to engage Annette away from Jacqueline. And then make the evade test herself using Jacqueline's ability. So let's see how this works. Tentacle touched. Never mind that plan. Well, action 2 we'll run it back. This time, yeah, we'll run it back. Looks like a +1. So it does evade the Coven Initiate, but it doesn't solve my problem of... Okay, action 3. What do we have for options right now in Jacqueline's hand? We don't have much, really. So for action... Actually, we might be able to work with this. Action 3, I'll play out Guided by the Unseen. So during a skill test at your location, the performing investigator searches the top 3 cards, may search the top 3 cards of their deck for a card that can be committed to this test. You may spend 1 secret to commit that card, shuffle the performing investigator's deck. So we'll get 4 secrets out for that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Okay, so that didn't quite work out how I had in mind, but c'est la vie, right? Anyway, that will do it for Mandy. Now let's move over to Jacqueline. Alright, action 1. Jacqueline's going to try to evade the Coven Initiate. Guided by the Unseen will trigger, and I think here we'll go 3 deep. And just take one target and look for one target. So I'm looking for one card that I can commit to the test. So first up, Jacqueline finds Spectral Razor, which I can't commit to an agility test. Then Arbiter of Fates, which I can commit, so that's an option. And Dark Future, which will go away. So, alright, for a card that can be committed to the test, I may spend 1 secret to commit that card. I don't think I get the card, actually, if I don't commit it. I'd rather have seen that for... son of a... Alright, well, that's going to have to go away then. That makes Guided by the Unseen not as good as I thought it was then. Because if it gave you the card as well, I think that would have been more helpful. But it was worth a shot anyway. I think I misread the card when I really think I misread the card when I put Mandy's deck together. So I'm at even right now. Skull is -1 for each point I fail by. Discard the top card of the encounter deck. So I did fail, which discards that and immediately reshuffles the encounter deck. That was action 1. Action 2, we'll try that again. This time, Mandy will commit to the Encyclopedia to put Jacqueline up 1. Skull, which evades that this time. And I think... Do we just keep pinging away at Annette? Actually, it doesn't seem like a terrible idea. I really wanted to get on the new path, but I don't think I'm going to be able to. I think we're just going to work on pinging Annette. So 5, 6, 7 to 4. We'll go up 5. +1 puts another 2 damage on Annette. Alright, that will do it for Jacqueline. Enemy phase, unfortunately the goat spawns will start making friends with us, so I'll put them on Mandy, since Jacqueline's already got a friend. Each ready unengaged witch enemy, there are none right now. And then Annette discards the top 3 cards of the deck, spawn each witch discarded by this, which we have none, and 2 cards I'm not sorry to see go away. So Jacqueline will take another 1 and 1. Mandy will take 2 damage from the goat spawn. Then everything will ready. We'll give a Coven Initiate each to Jacqueline and Mandy. Then we'll start re-readying everything. And we'll move back up top for the Upkeep Phase. Jacqueline will gain a resource and go to 4. Mandy will gain a resource and go to 3. Jacqueline draws. Arbiter of Fates, which I was going to use earlier. This is her signature card. Will, Agility, question mark on commit. Jacqueline Find deck only. When you use Jacqueline Find's reaction ability, exhaust Arbiter of Fates. This use of her ability does not count toward its limit. And then Mandy draws. Another Eureka. If this skill test is successful, the investigator performing the test searches the top 3 cards for a card, draws it, and shuffles their deck. Okay, Mythos Phase. Doom on the agenda goes up to 5. Jacqueline draws. Dissonant Voices, she can't play assets or events. Mandy draws. Frozen in Fear. Revelation, put Frozen in Fear into play in your threat area. The first time you perform each of the following actions, move, fight, or evade each round, it costs 1 additional action. Forced, at the end of your turn, test Will 3. If you succeed, discard Frozen in Fear. Okay, so now I've got to figure out how I want to do this. Because if I want to advance on the new path, I'm probably going to have to take an attack of opportunity to do it. But we can probably still try it. So I think we'll move into the investigation phase, and I think Mandy will be our first investigator. Two actions. Mandy's going to try to evade the Coven Initiate. She's up 1. And I'm going to commit... I'm going to need this Eureka probably for Jacqueline. So I'm actually going to use Guided by the Unseen, and I'm just going to go 3 deep. So first card up. I've got a plan which I can't commit to an agility test once again. Dream Diary, which I also can't commit. And Magnifying Glass, which I also cannot commit. So we'll give that a shuffle. And I did forget to refresh Jacqueline's Arcane Studies. I will take care of that right now. And Mandy is up 1 trying to evade the Initiate. Which she's able to evade, thankfully. So 2 actions there, and then action 3, she'll try to evade one of the goat spawns, still up 1. We'll search the top 3 cards for a card that we can commit. I'm just going to go 3 deep on this one as well. So card 1, Dream Diary, still can't commit. Mob Enforcer, also can't commit and don't particularly want to see. And Pathfinder, which I won't... yeah, I'll commit it. So I'm going to commit Pathfinder to the test, so I'm up 2 trying to evade one of these goat spawn. Alright, so Jacqueline is up 2. Oh no, Jacqueline. Mandy is up 2. And Mandy gets tentacle touched. Hopefully that won't end up mattering, but let's move over to Jacqueline and see if it does. We're not quite ready to move over to Jacqueline yet, because Mandy still has to test Frozen Fear at even. Skull is -1 for each point she fails by. Discard the top card of the deck. So we fail, and we discard another Dissonant Voices. Now that we're done with that, now we're ready to move over to Jacqueline. Jacqueline for action 1 is going to try to evade the Coven Initiate using Guided by the Unseen. So we'll search the top 3 cards of Jacqueline's deck for a card to see if we can commit something. So we find Clairvoyance, which I can't commit. Shriveling, which I can't commit. I would have loved to have seen that much earlier. And Twilla, which I will commit. So that gets me up 1. And then I shuffle the deck. So before I pull the test, alright, so I'm up 1 trying to evade the Coven Initiate. A 0 evades the Coven Initiate. Okay. Now for the moment of truth. Action 2, we're going to try to evade Annette. She's down 2. I'm going to commit Arbiter of Fates to get her to even. Mandy is going to commit Eureka to get her up 1. And then Guided by the Unseen, I'm going to let Jacqueline go 6 deep because I really need to find something agility based. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so right now I'm at even up 1. Depending on what I find here. And I'm going to use Jacqueline's ability on this test. So first card up. Actually, no, we should be fine. First card up. Shriveling, which I still can't commit. Hypnotic Gaze, which I can, that's only 1. Clairvoyance, which I still can't commit. Word of Command, which I can't commit either, but I would have loved to have seen that. Storm of Spirits, which I can't commit, and Word of Command. So it's Hypnotic Gaze that I'm committing. Now I'm going to spend the secret from from Guided by the Unseen to see that, to commit that. So I'll bring that up here just so I can track all my icons. Give that a shuffle. And a cut, and I'm going to change out my battery real quick, but then we'll come back and make this skill test. Just to recap where we're at. So we're trying to evade Annette. Jacqueline was down 2 base, committing Arbiter of Fates to get to even. Mandy committed Eureka to get her up 1. Then Guided by the Unseen gave her Hypnotic Gaze to put her up 2, and I'm using Jacqueline's special ability. One, 2, 3. Okay. Alright, first token here. A 0. Next up, an Elder Thing, which is probably getting canceled, and a -2. So I'll cancel the Elder Thing and the -2, which means Annette is evaded. That was an ordeal. We have 3 initiates on. We have 3 witches evaded right now. Jacqueline does get to search the top 3 cards of her deck for a card. So first up we find Emergency Cash, which I can't play, but could take it. Well, there might not be a next turn. Card 2. Spectral Razor. And Hypnotic Gaze. I think I will take the Spectral Razor, just in case there is another turn. But because I think we are probably defeating... I think we'll probably be able to defeat Annette next turn. Assuming this doesn't work, because all I need to do right now is get one more clue, and I can advance the act, since I have enough evaded witch enemies at the location. Which for action 3, Jacqueline will try to do. She's at even right now. She'll commit her 2 resources from Arcane Studies to go up 2. And I'll commit... Actually, I'll commit Occult Theory. So while it's committed, it gains lore icons equal to my will. So that's another +6. Which is probably over... Well, I'll say that for next turn, actually. So, right now I'm at... I'll say that in case I need it next turn. So anyway, I'm up... Let's see, up 3, 4, 5. I will commit both my copies of Read the Signs to go up. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I will commit both my copies of Read the Signs to go up 4. Elder Thing, which we saw as a -3. If you fail, choose an exhausted or damaged witch enemy at your location or a connecting location. Ready that enemy and heal all damage from it. So, we actually do get the clue, and then this would be a free action, a fast action window. Since we have 3 exhausted witch enemies and 4 clues, I will spend those clues, and we do get to advance. So there's that. And we advance this agenda. If there are more than 1 per investigator exhausted witch enemies at the Witch's Circle, which 2 Covenant Initiates and Annette qualifies. Investigators at the Witch's Circle, which they both were, may spend the requisite number of clues as a group to advance, and we spent the 4 clues. A circle forged. The hooded figures stand down once they realize you are not fighting them or working to disrupt their ritual. They're not the ones from before, the interlopers who interfered with our ritual, one of them says, pulling off her hood to reveal striking red hair and that glows in the firelight. Embers dance around her fingers. Are you of the same mind as us, then? She asks. No, Aaron, she answers. The leader of the Coven answers for you. They are lost. She studies you with harsh eyes. How came you here? You explain how you awoke in the woods, how you were attacked by terrible creatures, and how you came to the center of this circle to discover the truth behind your ordeal. Annette, I think someone delivered them here. The red-haired witch named Aaron whispers, mystified. We should finish here while the circle remains closed. There may be others in these woods. Come, sisters. Let us continue our work, Annette says. R5. With that, let's move back up top into Resolution 5. Alright, this one I didn't actually pre-record, so we're going to get story time with Phoenix Knight once again. Resolution... Resolution 5, and this is kind of the new path I was talking about. You watch as Annette, the leader of the coven, assembles her priestesses once more around the fire. Together, they complete the last rites of their spell. The chill wind becomes a flurry, and their chanting echoes throughout the woods. With their spell complete, a dark gale snuffs out the fire at the center of the clearing. Shadows from behind the tree line suddenly twist and coil around the witches, tugging at the edges of their cloaks. One by one, the shadows twist and pull each of them into the darkness beyond, all except for one. The witch named Erin lingers for a moment, peering into your eyes as though to discern your intent. If you are true, meet me where our ancestors lie buried. There we can talk. Then she is gone. You are left with only the soft glow of moonlight to guide you home. In your campaign log, record the witch's spell was cast, so I'll go ahead and record that. In your campaign log, record Erin wants to meet. In your campaign log, under Mementos Discovered, record Mesmerizing Flute and Strange Incantation. Each investigator earns 3 bonus experience as they gain insight into Arkham's mysterious past. So let's see, Mesmerizing Flute. And Strange Incantation. And we're plus 3 bonus experience. Each investigator earns experience equal to the victory X value of each card in the victory display. So for our cleared locations, we had 1, 2, 3, 4. Plus 3 is 7 experience. So 7 and 7. Okay? And then that will do it for Return to the Witching Hour. Next week, we'll continue the fall campaign as we return to At Death's Doorstep. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.